Hello, nice to meet you guys all here. So my name is Sang from Navigability, and we are a startup that focus on to optimize the flight operations of the airlines. So um, the fo- this is the four pillars of the decarbonization in aviation, and the flight operation is considered as one of the most important pillars here. But in general, it's also thought like that in the flight operation on area, it's already like lots of things happening here. So people consider there's not many room remain here, but that's actually wrong. So I believe you guys experience a lot of flight delays, turbulence, loss of luggage, loss of connecting flights, and get frustrated and complain to the airlines. So still, this flight operation area is quite far from the ideal stage. So what we're here trying to do is we want to push this forward. So let's think about why the flight operation is still far from the operation optimal status. So it's because it's by nature of the flight operation is really complex because of the one is that there's a lot of uncertainties like weather, traffic, turbulence, and so on. And the second is you have to because you have to do the comprehensive optimization. So, for example, you have to consider the time, safety, comfort, economies, and punctuality, stuff like that. So imagine if you're a pilot, so you have to read a lot of things before you go to flight. For example, the fuel optimization solution gives you things, airport charts, stuff like that. But when you get in the air, you might experience unexpected turbulence there. So what you have to do, so you're going to check the flight, you're going to check the software's output, but it just only tells you it's a fuel optimal route. So it does not tell you how to avoid the turbulence effectively, considering, for example, time or safety or the fuel. So this is why the current flight optimization is quite far from ideal stage. So it's all solid solutions are there. So our solution Weave is trying to provide a comprehensive uh, trying to provide a comprehensive optimization that currently done in pilot's head. So what we want to here try to do is we want to mimic the pilot's decision-making process, including the better prediction based on our machine learning technology, so provide a better comprehensive optimizations will lead to the operational resilience in the airlines. So first of all, we can't do this at the whole thing at once. So first, we are focusing on the turbulence, which is the largest portion of the safety incidents in the airlines, and also it expects to grow in the future by climate change. So based on our solutions, expected to we can reduce up to 5% of fuel efficiencies with keeping the safety, which gives a huge benefit to the airlines. And by mimicking those, our pilots, if pilots use these solutions, they can just check this output in the air and consider this is will good or not, and just execute it. Which means we can reduce a lot of cognitive workload of the pilots, so they can focus on the really important decision makings rather than just juggling around lots of like mathematics or stuff like that. So far, our so this is our accuracy of the turbulence model. We achieved the 14 times better results compared to the current vertical wind shear model. And this kind of prediction and the solution market is quite, let's say it's young, and the market is expected to grow huge. It's achieved to, so 2030 is going to be 6.1 billion in the global. And to penetrate this market, we are trying to adapt to open architecture models, so provide the one as independent applications. We'll also do the API, so airlines can introduce our solutions seamlessly without hustling any kind of their operations. Skip this. And our founder has a deep expertise in both business and technology. So Shinji is from IHI, and he graduated from MIT, and the Sato, he experienced lots of CTO roles in the startups. And so far, we recognized as a good, our technology recognized a good reputation here. So we got funded from Boeing recently and also participated in the acceleration program. And we're doing a collaboration project with Peach and the Japanese version of NASA, JAXA. And our future goal is we're trying to broaden these solutions, so the pilots can consider many uncertainties, for example, icings. And also they can handle the lots of cost items comprehensively, for example, consider maintenance costs, or let's say they can consider delay costs or the network disruption costs. So what we want to do here is we just not want to focusing on the single flight optimization, but also we want to broaden this angle. So pilots making this pilot's decision is actually aligned with what management concerns and what management think about this. Yep, so that's also, we want to invite the society by helping this flight operations, and hope you guys enjoy. Thank you.
Up next, PRNF. Floor is yours.
Hi everybody, it's a pleasure to be here. I am Guillaume Campenon from Aéronautique. Aéronautique, we are a Swiss-made company and we are building one more electric aircraft, 100% electric aircraft with battery storage. Our idea is not only to have an electric aircraft, but also to have an electric aircraft with the same requirement as existing conventional aircraft, light aircraft dedicated for tourism and light aviation. So I'm very proud to introduce this new aircraft, the UG3, which will be available by the end of the decade. It is a full 4-seaters, fully electric aircraft with a range up to 900 kilometers. This is a total revolution. We have seen in this exhibition a lot of eVTOLs, a lot of electric aircraft, and all these companies are doing a very, very good job. Here, we are just having a new approach, because with our aircraft, with this 900 kilometers range, we just have a total new vision of aircraft today. It's rethinking this aircraft that allows us to go up to this 900 kilometers. We don't take an existing aircraft, retrofitting, put batteries inside of it, change the engines. No, we're just doing it totally differently. How many batteries do we need to have this range? And how can we build the entire aircraft around these batteries? And starting from that point, we are just starting from scratch and building a total new aircraft. So it still have wings and fuselage, but in its global composition, it's a bit different. As a consequence, we have to do a lot of big innovation, and with great innovation comes great challenges. And this is why our engineering team is just awesome to tackle all these challenges and offer this new aircraft. So it's robust for safety, it's light and adapted to battery storage, and we have some innovation with patents, especially with this extra lift coefficient system, which allows us to have a takeoff and landing distance down to 300 meters. So we can go with this aircraft wherever you want in the world. Our roadmap is really clear, simple. 3 aircraft, 1 dream is to fly with electricity. So we start with this beautiful version, the UR1 dedicated for race. As a consequence, we can have a test bench with extreme condition. Then we go with this bridge, the UG2, we are building it right now, to finally come to our last version, the UG3, which will be available by the end of the decade. So this 4-seater, 900 kilometers range aircraft with the existing battery. So we can just hope that the batteries innovation will go on, because the better batteries get, the further we will be able to go. Thank you for your attention. I remain available if you have any question. I am Guillaume Campenon from PRNF.
Thank you. Next up, input stopped. Floor is yours.
Who has ever flown on an airplane? Raise your hand. Good one. So you probably know that COVID-19 has hit the aviation industry hard and has exaggerated many of the issues that airport management is facing today. Airlines lost half of their passengers, huge money in revenue. Airports all over the world were closing infrastructure, firing staff, and cutting payrolls. So while traffic is recovering right now, companies started looking into some permanent solutions to start optimize their resources and take actions based on real data. And InputSoft is here to help. Our mission is to transform all paper-based and legacy processes in civil aviation industry into digital ones. And we will do it by introducing our web platform for resource and data management. Resource management is automatically and efficiently allocated of human and technical resources in the airport, in terminal and a ramp. We are taking into account flight schedule, qualifications of employees, also limitations of aviation authorities and local trade union requirements. And also, it have a real-time module. We are receiving satellite data for real-time flight updates, and we are rearranging the assignments of employees in real time, predicting the delays, and overly improving the operations in real time and minimizing the delay time for you, passengers. Our second model is data management. It's collecting of data about every operation from the check-in of passengers till the invoicing of the airline after departure. You can quickly see here one. We are introducing QR codes and NFC tags so that supervisors and ramp drivers, supervisors can easily scan all the information and automatically upload it to the web platform for the managers to take their decisions based on real data. Yeah, so data management includes 4 modules, and it's fully basically serving the full cycle of ground handling procedures. The market is huge. We are evaluating our obtainable market in 5 years of operation, more than $245 million. And we are not actually staying in one place. Our market is all over the world. So we are starting from Europe, North America, and Latam region, but we don't have any limits. Our main advantage, I think, is that our solution is built by end user for the end users. Of course, we have satellite data feeds, fully automatic calculation. It's a web platform which is strangely very new for the aviation industry. And we have a preset scenarios. We started last year in Ukraine. So we had 3 companies in Ukraine. We, last year in the middle of 2022, moved to Europe, started working with European airports, ground handling companies. Now we are all over the Latin America, Latam region, North America. We have the right people in the right positions. That's I'm most proud of. So I'm Anastasia. I'm a CEO, aerospace engineer, 8 years working in civil aviation industry. Our CTO volunteering 13 years in aviation industry, ex-Swissport, ex all the biggest airports, worked with European and Latam region. And Andrei, he is from Civil Aviation Authority, so this guy knows everything about the regulations. And we are backed by incredible people, by Techstars, by European Union, USAID, our sales partners. So basically, everyone who wants this industry to recover and succeed. Thanks to everyone. If you want to learn more, come talk to me.
I think this behind. Is this a good presentation?
Yes.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Fabio, and I represent the Edge company. We start from that. The Edge company has been founded by professional aviators. I was in the military. I was, among other duties, chief of flight safety, taking care of initially the burst strikes, all the safety-related issue. And then after leaving the active duty service, I just, together with others, founded the Edge company. So the knowledge behind all what we did is pretty important. And then we use this knowledge to drive the development of an AI obstacle detection system. This is our mission. So we want to make your flight safer. The system I'm about to talk about already found application in different sectors. Airports, of course, you run air mobility is going to be the next targeted sector. What we're talking about, this is the problem. So everybody looks like, especially in the urban air mobility, advanced air mobility is taking care of cooperative obstacles using ACAS, using ADSB solution and stuff like that. Who takes care about non-cooperative obstacle detection? Amongst which we have birds, we have drones, we have aircraft, we have people. So whatever is going to be an obstacle that can be jeopardize safety flight execution. And I give you a right example. So next year they announced there's going to be commercial operation between Paris and Charles de Gaulle for the Olympic Games. Now, I guess everybody knows that there is a stringent regulation for eVTOL that they have to have landing place in case their engine fail. Now, who's going to take care about safety of this landing place? What if they have an emergency and land in this place that is completely unmanned, you have an obstacle. So behind or beside the problems you have, you create another problems. So the solution we develop, of course, is a AI-based proprietary technology. We have 9 patents worldwide, and is implemented from Bangladesh to North America, and is based on completely computer vision, artificial intelligence, proprietary technology, and is able to detect, track, count, classify obstacles. When we're talking about birds, not only we classify that is a bird, but we classify the bird species, because this is pretty significant and important to make the system working properly. So how does it work? We use cameras, high resolution cameras. I guess we are the only one in the world that we use and we treat 4K resolution videos at 25 frames per second. We are pushing hard. We are going to 5K cameras and increasing up to 60 frames per second. This is pretty important for tracking all the object. So it is a distributed model based on the side of the deployment, and this camera continuously scans the area. They are connected to a centralized computational device. We use Lenovo HPC with NVIDIA GPUs, and with which we are partners. Then the detection and our algorithms start working. So if something moves, the system detects it, then analyze, discard what is not the target for the system. Then we start the classification pipeline. So we say, okay, this is a bird, this is a drone, and if it is a bird, we go on the other classification pipeline to determine what species is the bird. Then we count, and then we position in the 3D using just one single camera. The situational awareness model is the interface between you and the system. It's a web application, so everybody can connect if they have their own credential. Those are our partners. We have been accelerated by Thales. We'll start an acceleration progress next week with Ferrovial and for the urban air mobility. We are technical and commercial partner of Lenovo, NVIDIA, and SGS, and Italsicurezza is our system integrator. Why the BCMS? Because we enhance safety. There are no electromagnetic emissions, differently from radars. And of course, we save the wildlife, because our mission is, yes, we make your flight safer, but we want to save the birds anyway. And this is another slide that shows that the system has not been developed by just computer scientists, but operational personnel, biologists will be there, will employed to develop this. And the difference between other systems is that if you set a system, usually stays like that, and then, for example, birds get habituated. We are following the situation as time go ahead, and so we are always ready to respond in the best possible way the situation. So basically, if you want to see the system, we are at Hall 5. You will have a live view of the system if you visit us. I thank you very much.
Thank you. And the last speech of this morning.
Hello, good morning. My name is Laurent. Just have one slide, so you can concentrate on me and not on the slide. Easy to read. You can scan the QR code. You have full time. You have 5 minutes for that. So it's a perfect day for me, because today is a day open to anybody on the shows, and it's a day where if you walk around, you see a lot of company looking for people. They're hiring, they're trying to recruit. It's so hard for them to find workforce today. We are just in front of the GFAS, just behind us. We are on the booth of Daer. All those companies, they are really badly looking for workforce. And so what we propose that members, it's a French company based in the south of France. We have an office in Paris and an office also in Chicago, but we are very global. 80% of our business is out of France, and we're targeting how to detect talent, how to raise the awareness to the wonderful job we have all around us, to new generation, but not only to unemployed people anywhere in the world, emerging country or not, through immersive experience, through metaverse, you know, the rude word, metaverse. So we're using that because it's very fashion to say metaverse. Now we can say artificial intelligence with metaverse. It's even more fashion. And we're using that, combining that seriously to make an environment where you can really do the job, and we can really detect your talent. We can really help you to improve your skills, your manual skills, I mean, up to the professional level. I'm not saying that I will train you through IA and metaverse to become a welder, to become an electrician. You still need to do real welding at the end, but it will save a lot of time. You can do that from home, from school, from anywhere, until you have a VR headset. So the constraint today of that, if you want to make it work, is that you need to buy a headset. Well, it's cheaper and cheaper. You heard about what Apple said last week. You heard about Meta that is spending a lot of money into the metaverse. So the headsets start to be affordable. So something you can buy for your kids for Christmas now. And it will become this kind of things. And the idea that in the future we will have a set where you can talk with others, you can check what will be your hotel in the holiday and so on. But it will be also a device where you will be able to practice electricity, maintenance, logistics, whatever. So the idea is really at members to detect the talent, train the people, and move you as close as possible to the real job. Combining that with new education model, that means that the teacher is a key today of this model. And you know how the teachers are. Usually they are very, or they have they have a curriculum to go through. They are very expert in their skills. So we need to also train them to become the teacher of the future, the teacher 2.0. And so it's a real solution that we're providing through training of the trainer, through providing the device, providing the curriculum too. And it works very well. Today we are deployed the system in 60 countries, in Asia, in Africa, in Europe. We have benefits of sometimes 10, like factor 10, meaning that we divide the cost of the training by 10. Through that immersive experience combined with artificial intelligence to track the skills and evaluate the skills of the students through all the training. So that's what we have. Finally, to end that up, I just had one slide because there's no need to show video and so on, because you need to live the experience to understand what I mean. And we have a demonstration on the booth of Dare just beside on the hall 2A. You can go there, you can try. You can feel it, and that's the only way for you to understand what I'm saying today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, all of you, for the pitches this morning. In a few minutes, we'll welcome some space tech CEOs to discuss how to finance space tech companies. So feel free to stay around. We'll start in a few minutes.
It's broadcasted in another place?
Yeah, in the other Start Me Up stand.
Ah, okay. Where in all three or?
Hi everyone. So mostly online, I guess. So thanks for watching or attending, for whoever is watching this. I'm glad to have here like a panel of space tech CEOs to discuss the way you attract finances. We know that space technologies are quite capital intensive, and you're developing some hardware technologies, so definitely capital intensive. And it's very interesting to further understand how to be able to attract capital to develop these technologies. There are many successes in the US, but here it would be insightful to have your views on how to attract private and public money in Europe and in Asia, and to get your experience on this. But first of all, I think it would be interesting to have to introduce to have an introduction of you, who you are, and your company, what you're building.
Well, thanks Benjamin for this introduction. So yeah, I'm Théophile Lagrolet. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Space Locker. And at Space Locker, we sell turnkey space missions. The idea is really to make space missions accessible to everyone, and without having to build a satellite. So it's very important for us. We have a standard interface, which is kind of the USB port of space, and then you have a plug-and-play approach of building a satellite. And therefore, it enables any player from the space sector or not to build quickly, cost-effective, and very reliable space missions. So that's what we do at Space Locker.
Thanks for the invitation, Benjamin. So my name is Thomas Herriard. I'm the CEO of Ionex. Maybe I'll say a word about myself because I think it's relevant also in the story of how you attract investors. I've kind of a double pass careers. I started for 10 years in the space business as a space engineer. And then I transitioned to business. I did an MBA, and then I worked for Boston Consulting Group for about 5 years. So that's in a nutshell what I've done before. And at Ionex, we are developing a new type of propulsion for small sats. And we are trying to build what we hope will be the most advanced and efficient space propulsion systems for small sats. Today, the team is roughly about 10 engineers, 15 with support functions, I would say. We've raised more than 4 million euros of seed last year, and we are targeting in-orbit demonstration missions by the middle of next year.
Thank you very much for the invitation. This great Paris Air Show. I'm Kohei Yoshioka from IDDK. I'm a co-CEO and a CFO. And IDDK develops automated space experiment platforms inside a satellite. You know, the 3,000 experiments have been performed International Space Station past 20 years. But it's an average 150 experiments per year. It's only 150. So if we try to send human beings to Moon and to the Mars, that's too small numbers of the experiments. So we have to expand the number of experiments. So we are developing the platform inside the satellite to scale up the number of experiments. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I guess my first question will be, and you're developing great technologies, and I guess one thing investors like and are interested in is who are the people in front of us, and why did they start this story? So I'd be curious to understand what's your motivations behind what you're doing.
Yeah, actually you're right. The team and the people is really important for the investors, but also for the project and the enterprise. And with Baris, my co-founder, we're two young space engineers, very highly motivated by what's going on in the space revolution, we could say here today. The space sector is changing very fast, and we saw that during our first professional experiences, and we really wanted to be part of that evolution, be a player and not just witness what the changes, but really be part of it. And that's why we started to think about, okay, what's the next step in all that? And the next step for us is really, we are convinced that the next revolution in the satellite industry is the rising of in-orbit servicing. And so that's why we started to think about it and telling ourselves, okay, right, how do we get there? Because the market is not mature yet. And so that's why step by step we came down to what Space Locker is doing currently, which is really hosting payloads. And so regarding the team, we are the key here, I think, is the passion. You need to be passionate about what you do when you're a founder, and that passion is really something that can be seen by anyone that want to invest or want to be a customer or to join the team. And so it's very important to make that passion shine, let's say.
So I think the first thing that I looked at when I decided to join INX as a CEO, because by the way, I'm not a co-founder. I've been hired by the startup studio that created the company. Obviously, I look at the tech. I mean, if you're a deep tech company and you don't have a great technology with incremental value, significant incremental value compared to what's on the market, you will not have a business. So first thing is, okay, I did my due diligence. Is the tech worth it? Does it bring significant incremental value to my future customers? And so obviously the answer was yes. We do provide incremental value, and technically speaking, it's super interesting, but it's not enough. I think tech and space companies tends to be a little bit too much technology driven and technology centric. You should not forget as well the market and the client. So once I got to the point and the conclusion that the technology was really worth it and I could invest my time in building such a company, then it's also super important to look at the market. And personally, my motivation was not so much to develop a great product, but to develop a great company. I'm interested in building a company. It appears to be in a space business where I have relevant network and experience, but it's mostly about, for me, be able to build something that is good for my employees first, for my clients, for my investors, but building an entrepreneurial story is something that motivates me. So of course, alongside the tech, you need to look at the market, the clients, etc. But that's the whole story that you need to build in order to convince yourself that it's worth moving towards that step. Because being an entrepreneur, it's a bit cliche, but yes, it is risky. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of commitment. So you need to make sure that it's worth it before investing basically everything you have in that project.
Yeah, I'm a co-CEO, but I joined the company 3 years ago. Our founder is Mr. Ueno. He established our company 2017 using our core technology. Our core technology is MID. It's a one-chip microscopic solutions. So our technology can be used on the ground, not only for the space. But the reason we are going to space is it's very interesting, and it's more, we can see the market, because 1,000 is the number of human beings going to live on moon in 2040, and space is a extreme environment for human beings, like microgravity, space radiation, and a vacuum state. So, but the only 3,000 experiments have been conducted in the International Space Station. We need more, like 100 times or 1,000 times of experiments for human to study the effect of microgravity and the space radiation to the human beings. So that's why that's also the, it's exciting and a new age for the human beings. So that's our motivation to, sell our business to the investors.
Thank you all for your explanation and explaining the motivation behind what you're doing. Maybe a question for you, Théophile. Like, you have a great idea. What are the first steps of turning this idea into the first steps of your company you created, and how did it go? And
that's an interesting question, because actually, yeah, that's the idea, but then, like, there's something that I don't hate, but I really dislike when you speak about entrepreneurship and stuff, because when you talk to people that want to or are interested by entrepreneurship, they say like, yeah, I want you to found my startup, but I don't have the idea. I don't have the great idea. But my point is, you don't need a great idea. You need a great execution, and you need to like transform an idea which won't be like the best idea, because if it was the best idea, it would already be done. You need to first start to explore and find a path to this great idea. Like, the great ideas don't fall down off a tree. And so that's why we started with this idea of, okay, we've got a long-term mission with our in-orbit servicing and stuff. And so how do you decline that with a concrete roadmap and technical stuff? Like, we were tired with Baptiste of startups that start with visions and sell like, we're gonna go to the moon, we're gonna send like thousands of humans, but there's no concrete vision here. You need to start by the tech. You need to start by building a product and building a service that will answer a market. And that's why I fully support what you said regarding the market. It's really important to get to the question of, okay, what does my customers need right now? And so that's what we started to focus on. And okay, how could the technology that we've got in mind and that we want to develop, but in the long term with a very developed solution, how in the first years does it answers a need right now? And so that's how we started. We started with that. We developed the first MVPs, and we currently have we have mock-ups, we have MVPs that start to be enough to sell a service. And so you start step by step, putting stone by stone, and you build your product. But ideas don't make a startup.
Thank you, Théophile. Maybe another question for you, Thomas. You mentioned it. You joined the company as a CEO. Company was started by techno founders, right? A startup studio. So how does the transition work, and how did it go? Like the first steps of this transition, and as the start of the company, with you as at the head.
Yeah, maybe I can explain a little bit better what a startup studio
Yeah,
is.
please.
Because
Yeah,
I believe it's a specific framework that is not so common in a space business. A bit more in a tech or agribusiness, but not so much in space. So basically, a startup studio, or at least the way techno founders operate, is their vision is to detect disruptive technologies in French laboratories. So it could be Onera, it could be CNRS, it could be INRIA, all those very powerful and very specific French tech labs. So they screen for potential disruptive technologies, and one that detects something interesting and they see a business vision behind it, then they start to get into a partnership with that laboratory and build let's say a contractual framework to industrialize that technology with the lab. So, and then they align the interest in terms of equity, in terms of IP as well. They recruit the first team of engineers. They usually do a first fundraise, a seed round. And then once the company is started with a tech, a first team, and some funding, then they basically launch officially the company. And usually they then screen on the market for a CEO that has a bit more industrial expertise that they have. And they basically give them the key of the company. Obviously, they still the largest shareholders of the company. And so they are, in the every board, and they support my decisions, but that's how they operate. And so Techno Founders, it's been started by 3 founders. And today they've been building deep tech, 10 deep tech in different areas for the past 10 years. So they are very strong in agribusiness, nanotechnology, obviously, but also medtech, biotech. Ionex is their first space tech, but so that's how they operate. And then to answer more specifically your question, honestly, the transition was really, really easy. It's all about building trust, right? But I would not have joined the company if I would not have complete trust with Techno Founders and Yves Maton, the previous CEO before me. So the transition was quite easy. And then honestly, today it's also very the framework of a startup studio is super interesting, because obviously they started the company, but then along the way they also provide support functions. So they're not 100% working for Ionex. They work for all the companies, but I do have a CEO, an accountant, a HR manager, a lawyer, etc., a com manager. So for me, it's amazing, because I can really focus on the business itself, on my engineers, on the products we're trying to build and to sell, and I don't have to look into all the tiny details on plugging pipes and etc. Like, I don't deal with the accountant complexities, and it makes my life much easier.
Okay. Yeah. No. Great. Very interesting. And in terms of the tech, you said like the screen for new technologies from laboratories and build a company around it. How does it work? Like in terms of IP, does the IP transfer as well to the company? Because I think for investors and attracting capital, it's key question as well. Where is the IP and who owns the IP?
So it really depends on the project. So I don't want to make generalities there. It depends how you negotiate the terms of the IP management. In our way, the IP, so basically our core IP has been developed for the past 10 years by CNRS and also by CNES. So the IP was already created and the patent was already filed when we created the company. But Ionex has the exclusive license worldwide for a significant number of years on that particular technology. So that's how we basically got the rights to use and to build a product using that technology. And I think when you do such licensing schemes, it's super important to align all the interests. And in our case, CNRS, who owns the patents, they are co-founders, they are significant shareholders, and they are also board members. So in that case, it's it's very easy, and there's no trouble with IP management at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Thomas. And in your case, Koe, I think so. What you said, like your technology was first used on the ground, and you're taking it to space. So yeah, I was wondering, like, how is it to transfer a technology into another field, another area where space is completely different from the ground? And how does it work? Did you create a new company under the umbrella of the parent company, or is it within the same company? And how do you develop this kind of new area within the company?
Yeah, it's gonna be the same company. So IDDK will develop the space field. The reason, the easiest thing is we have JAXA, Japan Aerospace Agencies, and they have a keyboard module in the International Space Station. So they help us to demonstrate our technologies in the outer space. So yeah, and we also, our main business is to utilize the satellite, not the International Space Station. And our demonstration is next year, June and December of the 2024. So yeah, we will see how our technology can demonstrate our for the. Also, we have a PAL customers to launch with us. So yeah.
Okay, very interesting. You mentioned that JAXA is supporting. I think it's part of like what's important for the startups at the beginning of their journey is support of national agency. Can you say a bit more how JAXA supported? Was it like all in-kind support, or did they financially support you as well?
They support us both for the technology and the financial support. They provide us the government subsidy to develop our MID. MID stands for micro imaging device, our core technologies. Yeah, that's gonna be very helpful, especially for the startups. It's sometimes if you are the early stage, you are not ready to fundraise from venture capitals. So it's very helpful to demonstrate our technologies. Then during the phase, we can build our team, and we can analyze the competitors, and we can see the market. So we can be ready. So until we are ready to approach to the venture capitals, we can demonstrate our technologies. That's one part, and our company is close to the JAXA. So yeah, it's easy access, and they help us technology side as well.
Okay, very important. And you mentioned that he helped to go to venture capital investments. How did it go for you? Like, how much have you raised? Can you say a bit more about your journey into the fundraising process?
Yeah, until now we raised 1.5 million US dollars, and now it's a seed round trying to raise 3 million US dollars. And fortunately, we graduated from the Starbucks Israel last, I think last December we had demo days, and we got the lead investor this round. Yeah, so it's gonna be easy, and we are going to close this round this October.
Congrats. So actually, yeah, I think you've been through different programs. I think we've been through Techstar as well.
Yes, it's 2 years ago. I joined the Techstars, and next I joined the Starbucks Israel Astra program. Yeah.
Okay, and so you mentioned it's very valuable in the start of your startup journey.
Yes, it's to prepare to before approach to the venture capitals. We can prepare well, and also they have a good networking, so it's easy to access to those key persons.
Okay, thank you very much. So we were talking about the support of national agency. I guess you're working with CNES in France as well. I don't know if you want to react to this.
Sure. I mean, it's absolutely paramount for a number of reasons. But if you're looking for private investors, most of them at the moment, there are some dedicated funds for space business, but even though they are quite new and there are not a lot of them, so most of the time, if you're looking for private funding, those people, the people you will be talking with, are not space experts. So they will be relying on external advisors to do their basic technical due diligence. And the first thing they will try to look at is, do you have support of CNES or ESA or European Commission, or basically do you have support from space experts? So it's absolutely paramount if you want to raise a decent round to have the support of those experts. So that's for, like, let's say, a more marketing / funding thing. But on top of that, obviously, their technical knowledge is unique. So Ionex, were, like, as I was mentioning, a bit more than 10 engineers. The average tenure, the average age is about 30 years old. So my team is very young. CNES has been doing space business for 60 years. So if we can have the opportunities to work with some of those experts on electronics, fluidics, mechanics, space radiation, whatever the topic, I mean, it's super important for us. So yes, it's absolutely mandatory.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we have the chance of, in France, having a space agency that I think is starting to be really willing to work with startups. And it's a chance, because, like, space agencies are big structures in a space sector that is also very structured with processes and stuff. And so I think that we are entering an era where those space agencies are starting to see the interest of talking with startups, but further than seeing this interest, you need to have, like, open doors that can be where you can talk to, because those big structures is very hard to find the good point with who you want to talk, and therefore I think we had the chance with Space Locker to find directly a great interlocutor talking to Connect by CNES and their next initiative, which is very dedicated to emergence of new ideas. And therefore, when we arrived, we need to show that we are not just having a great idea, but we have a technological approach of it. But then, if you gain this confidence in terms of technology, in terms of professionalism, it's really now, I think that the CNES has understood that there's something to do with those startups, and it's starting to get more and more, I wouldn't say easy, but interesting to work with the CNES. And having talked with other startups that was in the space industry and was launched years before ours, I think that's something that has improved during the past 5 years, and that's great.
Yeah, I think it's, as you all said, very important to have this kind of public support to be able to develop these companies, especially in very deep tech industries where a lot of capital is needed. And we see in other regions that the government is working a lot with upcoming players to finance and help on the technical aspect. And yeah, so as it was very interesting what you said, like that this public support, especially from experts, is bringing credibility to the projects you're developing. Going a bit more deeper into the how to raise fund from private capital, what are the biggest challenges you faced, or like the questions, the most like recurrent questions you had from them, and how did you overcome that?
I think the biggest question we always have is, what's your market? I think on space tech, we are all trying to do something very complex. It's not so easy to define what's your precise market. Like, who are you selling your product to? What markets are you addressing? And if you have a clear vision, how big is that market? If you segment it too large, potentially that's not your market. But then if you really segment it to what you're trying to sell, then the market is probably going to be small. You know that better or as well as I do, but below $1 billion market, they usually don't look at it. But space is still small. I mean, satellite construction business is 25 billion, and it's growing, but it's still, you're not obviously addressing with what we do the entire market. You have to segment it. So it's always a matter of, what market you're trying to address. So that's the first question. And then once they are interested in that market and in the tech, obviously they will look at the team. Yes, I think to answer more your question on what are the difficulties, I think what's complex is to phase it properly and to time the precise moment where you need the money and how much do you need. It's not that easy because at the beginning, obviously you will want to raise a small amount, which is easy. But if you do raise a small amount and then you burn it too fast, you're gonna have to go back to your investors a bit too early. Maybe you will not have delivered on your business plan. So you need to plan that very consciously because if you raise too small and then you basically spend your life as a CEO on the road trying to raise money all the time, that's a time you cannot dedicate to your team and to the product you're trying to build. And on the other hand, if you try to raise too much, obviously it's going to be more difficult. So that the phasing and the amount of the raise is a tricky question. And as a CEO, you're quite alone in your approach of thinking that problem. It's difficult to be very transparent and open to funds because they would expect you to come with an amount, a business plan, a vision, a timing, and as I said, it's difficult.
Yeah, for us, yeah, it's exactly the same. Yeah, and the market size is very hard to estimate, and our business is usually to expand the number of experiments, space experiments. So we are trying to create the market. So yeah, from the investors, the difficult question always is like how big is the market? So we are trying to fundraise combination between the equity and the subsidy or the debt finance. And I think it is important that international collaboration is important to fundraise. For example, the UK Space Agency announced an international bilateral fund for the project between the UK company and the international companies. They will fund the 1.5 million euros. So we apply for the program together with our partners in the UK. So yeah, I don't know if the CNES has such kind of program. So yeah, I'd like to know if you have any case or not only the France or the other countries in Europe, if you have any such programs.
It's a good question. Bilateral programs with SNES, I'm not sure. There are like many ESA gateways for different space programs, but yeah, I'm not aware of CNES bilateral. Do you want to react?
Yeah, well, actually what has been said is, I think it's really true, and it's also due to, well, how technical is the market and how, well, emerging is the market. Because space is a growing market of interest from investors. We are seeing more and more VCs that weren't in the space industry before, and that are coming, like saying, or business angels too, saying, well, I heard that space is getting like somewhere, I don't know where. Tell me more about it. Tell me what you do. I don't know a thing about space, but tell me what you do. And so we're trying to, well, express it in simple ways and then try to complexify, saying, okay, well, so that's the standard way of doing it, and that's how we do it. But so you're very quickly getting into technical stuff, but you also need to express what's the market, and it's a technical market. When you're doing sales, when you're selling a satellite, like you're not selling t-shirts, and so you have high prices, and well, each client's values is very important, but then you don't have like this very streamlined growth of a SaaS software company where you have this ramp up, and therefore it's hard to, well, express this growth in terms of, don't worry, we've got like hundreds of customers and it's going in the right direction. Like if you have two customers, you have two use cases, and like the projection is very uncertain, and therefore that's why also you have those when you look at the numbers that are given by consultancy cabinets such as like Euroconsult or PwC and stuff, you've got high variations in what they say, and you can have like very big numbers announced, and no one's really able today to tell if it's gonna happen or not. what we all see is that there's something that is growing. You've got like plenty of projects, you've got plenty of new use cases, you've got like a real interest around it, and it's the new frontier, and so you don't know what's behind this frontier, and that's why there's this uncertainty, and that's the hardest part, I think, to convince on that with the investors, saying don't worry, it's a reliable market that is growing, and that you'll see in 10 years we'll get like one of the biggest markets in like technological demonstration stuff.
Yeah, I think I agree definitely on the multi-billion, trillion markets reports that we see from time to time from consultancies. Always interesting to look behind the numbers, and that's actually the figures we see on the slides of startups raising as well. So it's always interesting to do the exercise as the other way around, like bottom up, and looking at what exactly what you were saying, and it's the same with the use cases as well. Who are my clients, and how many units can I sell, and building the business plan the other way around is very interesting as well. So yeah, I think it's definitely useful to do that. So yeah, I had another question about so we talked about the questions from your investors, and actually, and you start mentioning it, that more and more VCs are looking at the space sector, but it's still a hard industry to apprehend exactly for the reasons you mentioned, like where is the market going, how is it growing, how fast, etc. My next question is, what is the kind of investors you're talking to? So VC, like venture capital, is one. At the earlier stages, like we have business angel as well. But are you talking to other types of investors? And I'd be curious to know the geography as well, because at the earlier stages we talk to local investors, but the more we grow, the more we expand the scope of investors we are talking to. So yeah, I'd be curious to know a bit more about it. I don't know.
Sure, I think you phrased it really well. It really depends on the timing and the phase of your company. At inception phase or the very beginning, you will look with maybe business angels or family offices, mostly local. You will try to complement that with public funding. In France, we have BPI. It's an amazing partner. Obviously CNES as well, but so it's mostly going to be BA and family offices locally, and then as when you expand, then you try to work more with what I would call professional investors. You will look into VCs, obviously, and as you grow, then I think what's still we're not there yet with Ionex. We will raise our Series A next year, but what I've heard from startups is that in Europe and in France, it's difficult to get funded past Series A, B. When you start to look for a TK north of 50 million, then it gets difficult with VCs. There are professional funds in Europe that are bigger and that are getting into the space market. So let's see how it goes. But at the moment, I think when you want to expand, and the space market is a global market, at least half of the market is in North America. So it doesn't really make sense if you want to build a professional business to only, when you start growing past Series A, it doesn't make sense to stay in France or in Europe. You will look for clients there. And potentially for investors there. I think then gets the question of the IP management, especially if you have a dual business. If you're doing also sort of military applications, then it gets a bit tricky to raise funds in another country. But yes, in a nutshell, it depends on the phase of the company.
Yeah. How easy it is to raise capital in Japan? Are you looking locally, or did you already look at? I think you mentioned Israel as well earlier. So where did you look for funding?
Basically, we are looking for funding from Japan investors. In the phase of the inceptions, we can do a debt finance around $200,000 US, and we have a government subsidy around $100,000 US to demonstrate or the concept study of the technology. So, and yeah, in the phase of inception, we usually go to the angels, business angels, to speak, and also, one of the choices is accelerators. Yeah. So, but after the inception, like seed to Series A, we need 10 million or 20 millions of the US dollars of the fund. So we will go to the venture capitals. Yeah, and we are also looking for the international venture capitals, but they usually invest in the company if you have entities in the abroad. So yeah, it's really hard for our case. Yeah.
And do you have offices abroad yet, or are you looking to expand abroad?
This moment we have office only in Tokyo and some places in Japan, but we are going to expand our companies to the abroad. So hopefully, yeah, next year we will have entity abroad. Yeah.
Yes, on our side, we are at a stage where we mostly focus on business angels. But actually, what we see also is that there are some VCs that are starting to have a look at very early stage of the companies because there's sure a higher risks, but as you don't have as many startups as any sector in the space domain. It's interesting also to get earlier in the phases of development, so smaller tickets, but to get it on board and see what happens. So there's that. There's one type of investor that we haven't mentioned yet is the corporate ventures. Actually, we underestimated them before because we didn't saw them as we saw them as potential partners in terms of industrial partnerships. But there are more and more big companies, big groups, international groups that are starting their branch of corporate venture because they, as I said, as business, they see this interest in working with small structures, with small startups to get innovation, to get flexibility and agility. And so I think this branch is very important, and it's important that more and more big companies start working with startups that way, including investment, because they're not creating their competition. They shouldn't be afraid of those startups that are starting. And actually, it's funny because you are like a four-person structure or less than 10, and you have a group of thousands of people, and you find people that are afraid of you getting bigger than them, and you're like, no, not yet. Don't worry, and let's work together, and we'll see. Don't worry. And sometimes it's the best way for those big companies to see what's going on, start to understand the market, and see how they could find their place, and everyone can fit in the market, because it's not a one-player market. It's a partnership market, and so it's a way to start that. And then on the business angel, we obviously starting in France because it's way easier. You have a direct access, but we're already having discussions with many investors abroad, because actually business angels are a bit more free from investing in abroad, where venture capital is much more like, okay, you need to have return, geographical return, right? Let's say where you invest, and so yeah, we have the chance of being in a global market, so it's way easier, I think, to find investors abroad, but it's still easier to start where you start.
And it's a good point. You all mentioned like business angels and at the early stage, and there is no like glossary of business angels with the numbers, etc. So how do you find them, and how do you create the network, and what kind of network does it require, and how do you build it?
It's actually not that complicated, I would say, at least in France. So it's very much centric. You have our Grande École system, and all those Grandes Écoles, X, Centrale, Les Mines, HEC, etc. They all have their business angels network. They are very easy to locate and to contact, and they are super approachable and interested. So at least in France, I don't see it as a complication. Also, more and more in those kind of environments and forums, they come and they pitch us, and so it's very easy. And then one point I'd like to mention, go back to the startup studio, Techno Founders, since they've been doing deep tech ventures for quite some times now, they do have a very large network of BAs, and basically they can, they can, when they create a company, they can reach out to that network, and it makes things quite more easy for us as well.
Yeah, well, on the business angel side, I would say it's mostly network. So you need to create that network and to get in those networks. So as you said, there are the schools, the engineering schools, but it's not like, I think the main networks are behind are the business angels networks themselves. So for instance, and we see a strong segregation between the types of business angels, because you have like aerospace business angel that's more like all the industrials, well, experts that invest in very careful ways. Then you have people that have been the founders of SaaS companies in the 5-10 years before, and that have cash out and just like are willing to help and yeah, are very like excited about what you do. And so you have many types of business angels, and each type has its own network. And so when you start getting in touch with one, then it presents itself to his network, and you step by step start getting more and more business angels. And then you have well, players that gather those networks, such as, well, Starburst a bit. We're also talking with business Angel Square, sorry, which is a big player in Paris. And you have those players that help gathering the good idea and pushing, because they start doing a first like round of selection. And for the business angel, is very reassuring, I would say, to have those steps, and it's important.
In Japan, there's a ecosystem for the business angels. So there is an event to pitch in front of the angels. So yeah, it's the easiest way is to go to the pitch in front of the angels. Then once you connected to those angels, we can have the setups meetings. Then ask him to connect with other angels. So that's the easiest way. And in Japan, space is an exciting field. So yeah, many angels trying to support the space startups. So yeah, that's not difficult to find. Yeah, supportive angels. Yeah.
Okay, oh, not that difficult, Indian, but still a bit of work. Yeah, I think we're coming towards the end. So yeah, to wrap up, what I noted down is what you said is you need in this industry we are like building hardware technologies mostly, and you need a real differentiation in the product you're developing with an incremental like or a disruptive way of doing things. But obviously you need as well a shining star team to be able to execute on the ideas. That's what you mentioned. Execution is key to be able to attract capital. And one of the last thing, or like one of the many things we mentioned as well, but which is key, is public support from space experts. So could be national agency. At the European level, we have ESA as well. So working with this public agency helps a lot. And actually, it's a whole different topic, but working with corporate clients and getting this traction will help and ease the attraction of private capital, obviously, because this is in the end, it's the end game to be able to generate revenues. Is why you created this company, and this will attract the private capital. I don't know. Maybe to open the floor for a last comment. If we missed anything from this topic, feel free to add anything.
Well, if I have a last word, I will say, like, to all the investors that are listening to us, I think that space is, of course, a risky market. It's a growing market. There's a huge risk in investing in space, but I think it's a booming industry, and there's something definitely going on here. And so, well, have a look at space. You need to see and to have a space strategy, because those startups are going to be big players of tomorrow. And so, yeah, start investing in space.
Maybe one, if I take one step back compared to other type of, M&A type of projects I've done in my career in other industries, I would say space is not that much different. When you're trying to raise capital, at the end of the day, what matters is trust you will build with your investors, your ability to speak the same language than they do, because they see too many, tech-centric companies that are focused 300% on the tech, and honestly, most of the time, it's really hard to understand, even for professionals in the sector. So I think it's better to just build a relationship. It takes time, so Don't call your investors 2 days before you need the money. Build a relationship in the long run. Try to speak the same language than they do. Try to explain the market, explain what your product does. And I think in the long run, if you're good at your job, it will pay.
IDDK is going to demonstrate our service early next year, and we are still looking for the investors to join our journey. So if you are interested, please reach out to me.
Well, thank you all for this great discussion, and all the best for your future companies.